What's going on there, folks? Good afternoon, good evening. It is the Earthmaster here on this Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. It's about 9:34 p.m. here along the West Coast in the state of California. And latest activity does show some movement out here along the West Coast. The 2.0, the latest quake, down into the Southern California area. Looking at the last 24 hours of earthquake activity shows some slight uptick here in the last couple hours, including an earthquake here near the Bay Area, near Antioch, off of the, looks like the Greenville fault zone, the Clayton section. Did see a 3.6. This originally came in as a 3.8 within the last hour. It was felt around the regions of the Bay Area. Looks like San Francisco included, over to Tracy, even a few folks there in the Sacramento area reported feeling some light shaking. So slight uptick ongoing here off of the Greenville fault zone. Now I'm not for certain if this is it kind of looks like it's just to the just to the eastern side here of the Greenville fault. It is got a little bit of earthquake or aftershock activity continuing following that 3.6. Looks like a 1.8 let's see what we got here. Let's zoom in a little bit closer. 1.8, 1.7, and a 2.1 here within the last hour. But check out the depth of that earthquake, 16 kilometers deep. So a little bit of movement going on here beneath the North American plate, right? Plate boundary over here. Crazy. All right, so we'll continue to watch this. For the most part, though, Bay Area's been fairly quiet aside from this new activity kicking up here. Also down south here into Southern California, we got the Palomar Observatory kicking up again with a 2.0 around the Palomar Mountain. This area has been seeing some off and on swarming over the past few months or so, even some last year. Continuing to watch that. That is just off the Elsinore branch here. There's a couple different sections of that fault that run through the Southern California area. The San Andreas Fault, for now, though, looks fairly quiet. A little bit of movement here on the northern end of the San Bernardino Mountains with a 1.9 coming in within the last hour. Taking a broader view up north here into the Pacific Northwest. Some small microquake activity to report around the Mount Rainier area. 0.7 and a negative 0.8. A little bit of movement outside of Seattle as well. Looks like a 2.3, 29 kilometers deep. That's going to be probably associated with the tremor event that's ongoing up there. Let's see what we got for the Cascadia tremor activity here. And there we go. Little slight uptick here. We're kind of looking forward to that. Mentioned that last night, how this could be increasing in numbers. And we're still a little shy of where I expect us to maybe peak out at. I'm thinking around the 850 to 900 range. Epicenters per day. Right now we're at 706. This has been an ongoing thing here for about 10 days or so. Elevated tremor uptick activity along the Cascadia. Mostly into the Vancouver Island range and also the Seattle area. But we are noticing some further movement down south here into the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. So continue to watch that. See how that plays out. For the most part, not seeing a whole lot of activity upstream, though. Most of this movement, tremor activity down into the subduction zone itself. Yellowstone National Park, not a whole lot going on. Some very small microquakes there across the area. And a quick glance at the Yellowstone overviews does show a small amount of earthquake activity here. It looks like about 4 or 5 hours or so ago. Had a little spitter spatter event of some very small microquakes, but aside from that, most of the movement there looks like it is centered right around the Little West Thumb and the Grant Village area, showing up on a few stations. Rest of the country, Oklahoma, getting some severe weather out there right now to earlier tonight. I think it was a little bit stronger severe weather than what they were forecasting. Sometimes these events can just advance, and that's kind of what took place here today. Seeing quite a few tornadoes out there around the Oklahoma area. Let's see what we got for earthquake activity, though. Horton area looks like a 2.8. That is over here near the Holdenville area. Very shallow earthquake at 1.4 kilometers deep there below the surface. No further abnormal earthquake activity off the east coast here of the states. We did see that earthquake this morning. Kind of an oddball. We don't see too much activity out there, but we did pick up a 4.5 early this morning. Around the Caribbean plate and the Middle America Trench all looks, for the most part, pretty quiet, absent of earthquake activity. The South America region here, we got a, looks like a 4.3 currently coming in into the Chile area. That's showing up also on the USGS station here north of Santiago along the Peru-Chile Trench, 4.3, 42 kilometers deep. Slight uptick ongoing there. Alaska area also showing a slight uptick in the last couple hours or so outside of Anchorage at 3.4 near Valdez, Alaska, 29 kilometers deep. And also some, looks like a little bit more elevated activity here across the Cook Inlet area with some small microquakes throughout the region. So just looking at this map here, the USGS map, looks as though we're starting to definitely amplify out here along the eastern Pacific and adjacent plates. We'll continue to watch that. Let me see what we have for the earthquake 3D globe. Not a whole lot. Look at that. That's goodness. Not a whole lot of activity here across the area. If you watch this show, you'll see that this is mostly cluttered with earthquakes, and it's completely opposite today. All the activity over here, including another earthquake coming into Texas, 2.4 as we speak, it looks like. 3.4. When was this one? Did this one just come in? Hold on a second here. Yeah, that one, just one of the newer earthquakes coming in within the last hour outside of the Pecos, Texas area. 9 kilometers deep, and of course that is associated out there with quite a few oil fields and wastewater disposal operations here. Notice those ponds there amongst the desert of Texas. And there's thousands of them. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of these operations out here. This is just one area. One area. All right, let's see here. So we got definitely movement kicking up here across the North American plate. Looks like we're lighting up here a little bit more. There was even another earthquake since I just covered this area, 1.5. So definitely be on the lookout here. West Coast lighting up somewhat like a Christmas tree in a way. So let's see what we do have over here. Any newer quakes popping off? The last one was a 4.5 into the Java Trench area. A little bit of movement at the northern end of the Java Trench around the Andaman Sea. Pretty deep, 121 kilometer, 4.4. But aside from that, you've seen it on the Earthquake 3D globe. There's not a whole lot going on over here, and that's unusual to say. We just don't we don't come to these quiet terms all that often in this area of the world. The Fiji area and the Tonga Trench all lacking activity as well. Something either brewing big time out here, or it's kind of hard to say. It's that teeter-totter effect I kind of chat about a lot here. It's been a while since we've seen it shift back to this type of extent here along the West Coast and adjacent plates, but it definitely looks like things are on the momentum and the uptick here across this area of the Pacific plate and the North American plate and these subsequent plates down here to the south. So just be on guard. Kuro-Kamchatka Trench, we did see this one coming in. It looks like noon. 5.1, 10 kilometers deep. Pretty shallow earthquake. But aside from that, not a whole lot going on over in this area and the EMSC globe. Let's see what we have. A pretty good trail of movement across the Mediterranean right now. Mostly 2s and 3s. No major earthquake activity. Turkey still showing some aftershock movement there, and that's going to continue, no doubt, for a little while into the future, following those big events here a couple months back. Atlantic Ocean calm and clear, aside from that one oddball earthquake earlier this morning off the states, eastern section of the states. Let me double check the GeoNet servers here. Just want to run by and see if we're missing anything down in New Zealand. It's been awfully quiet, it seems. There is a 2.6, it looks like, about 6 hours or so ago. The all magnitudes map here doesn't look like there's too much to chat about. 3.8 there into the Kermadec Trench, but a quick glance here at the earthquake drums will basically tell us what's going on here. And looking at these graphs, not a whole lot. Some of this activity here from last night, maybe, well, early this morning, some late last night as well. But as far as newer earthquake activity goes here, we're just not seeing it down into the New Zealand area. See what we got for Earthquakes Canada. Anything popping up there? Well, let's see what we got out here. Northern end. See this? I got to make sure I cover this here a lot because a lot of times the USGS does not cover what's going on up here at the northern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. And this is a 4.5 coming in today at the northern end of the Cascadia. Cascadia subduction zone is going to be right here in this blue line. This is going to be the Pacific plate boundary here with the Juan de Fuca plate where this earthquake struck. But it looks like there's a little swarm of activity here. There's that 5.7. I know we've had that, but I wasn't aware of this earthquake here this morning, 4.5. And of course, we got the tremor occurring pretty much due, well, east-southeast here of this area. That will add strain, right? Getting that Juan de Fuca plate being shoved down underneath the North American plate, of course, will add some strain out here to the west. So it's kind of interesting there to see that. Let's see here. Anything else popping off here? The big island of Hawaii? Yeah, it's kicking up here pretty good, actually. It looks like 48 earthquakes here at the Kilauea Volcano. The latest one, a 2.1, 3 kilometers deep. And I'm not a rocket scientist, that's for sure, but I think there's some magma movement going on down below the surface here, looking at these little earthquake swarms that we're seeing there around the volcano. And those depths are looking very consistent with some magma movement. Let's see what we got here for the last 7 days of earthquake activity. Got about 106 earthquakes around the Kilauea Volcano, which is currently not erupting, but I wouldn't doubt it here soon that it could start continue to show some signs towards another eruption. Let me see what we got here for the, we'll come back to that in a second. I want to check out the hazard notification system, see if there's any updates here from the HVO. Nope. That was from yesterday, and they hardly ever mention the earthquake swarm. So let's see. Let's refresh this page here. Somebody said that they'll probably get some of the tilt meters working today. We'll double check that. A lot of these tilt meters were offline, not showing data whatsoever here. These tilt meters will expose ground inflation and whatnot. This one not working. Day 2 tilt. A lot of these still look like they're offline. You guys see that? Or don't see it? I think there was one working. I believe it was one of these that was working. Is it this one? Maybe this one here. So this goes to, I guess it's going to today, 417. There's a bug in here. Just seen a bug fly by my eyesight here, off the side. I was wondering what that was. I thought I was seeing a ghost or something. Anyway, continued inflation, it looks like, with Kilauea Volcano. No major uptick, but definitely on the rise. A look at the seismograph stations here. This one's working. Good deal. Shows some earthquake activity here over the last 12 hours. What do we got? 12 hours? Yep. No major movement yet, but still, it could be, some of this earthquake activity could be a sign that something's potentially pushing up here, recharging the system, so to speak. We'll continue to watch that and see how this plays out at the Kilauea Volcano. Let's see, Mauna Loa over here, tilt meter. This one's working too. Past month. There's some slight inflation there going on at Mauna Loa, but we haven't really seen any major earthquake or any type of earthquake activity over there. It's been relatively quiet. A lot of stations still offline there. Great. Goodness. What else do we have here, folks? Let's see what we got here for space weather. We do have a pretty nice coronal hole down here, 94. 95 is center disk lined up with the Earth-Sun plane. But I don't think we're going to see too much activity coming from that specific coronal hole. Now, number 94 is down there on the southern hemisphere of the sun, not lined up too much with the Earth, so that's unfortunate. Oh, definitely unfortunate because it's not going to produce too much solar storm possibilities. If it was lined up a little bit further up here towards the center disk of the sun, maybe so, but I don't think we're going to see anything from that coronal hole. Continue to watch that, though. Let's see. They lowered the flare threat here substantially. Still, though, 99% chance for a C flare. M flare degraded there slightly to 35%. X flare dropped from 10 to 1%. And that is due to the lacking here of the sunspots and their potential or lack of potential activity. Quite a few sunspots here on the Earth-facing side, but none of them look promising whatsoever in producing any type of major flare, or even a moderate flare, I would say, for that matter. And a look at the last 24 hours, last 3 days of activity here shows relatively calm conditions here, just in the C flare category. No M flare events to speak of. So that's unfortunate, but hey, it'll come around eventually. Aurora forecast for tonight. Not a whole lot of greenery up there in the sky, folks, so definitely not worth going outside to see anything because there will be nothing to look at. All right, Storm Prediction Center here. Is this the latest update? Yeah, they did add an enhancement throughout the day today because of all the work, so to speak, with all the ingredients coming together to produce some tornado potential. And man, I've seen some big hail out there as well around some of the weather chasers that were out there. Definitely seen some big hail. But anyway, that's today. It looks like tomorrow that weather will shift to the east and south here in a good portion of Texas. So this area will definitely be getting some rainfall, it looks like, which is much needed. Looks like it's going to be a little noisy night out here across portions of the plains, and also up here, Iowa getting in on some activity as well. Goodness, 70% chance of thunderstorms, so a little noisy out there tonight, but hey, that's kind of cool, right? I would think so. Out here in California, not a whole lot going on, and there's not a whole lot in the forecast here either. Looking at the West Coast models, looks high and dry, so to speak. Little storm system coming in here to the Oregon-Washington area, very typical. But for California, it doesn't look like we're expecting any type of events, which is normal. This is our normal with how we're supposed to have the weather this time of year. This isn't our rainy season. Occasionally we'll get some storms popping up out here, but we're supposed to be around the 80s or so, and that's what we're going to be getting as we look towards the end of April and into the beginning of May. All right, real quick glance here at the earthquake map again, see if we're missing anything or any newer quakes popping up. Like I say, California definitely lighting up here pretty nicely all at once. I do have a station down there in Southern California called Barrett. That's going to be the top station here. For us here in Northern California, the Cascadia subduction zone, the southern end, is going to be the Dinsmore and the Petrolia station. But yeah, for the most part, though, our standard seismograph stations that we're monitoring here on the live stream. Low activity there in Chile, Indonesia, and some very small activity up at Yellowstone. These are very small earthquakes. The big ones, the big earthquakes will completely flatline not only the local station, but potentially far away seismograph stations as well. Then I'm talking about those big ones, big earthquakes. These little small microquakes, just barely showing up here on the amplitude count. All right, guys, I am going to jump off here, I think, and see how this plays out tonight. Just got to be prepared, stay safe out there, and make sure you guys have an earthquake plan. That's pretty important out here along the West Coast, right? We definitely need to have some type of plan set up here, just in case you need to, be in a position where you have to hightail out of here. Who knows? Alrighty. Have a good night, folks. We'll catch you guys back here in the morning sometime. Take care.